Hey guys, it's Ryan from AMS here. I'm with Mr. Marshall Steve Smith in a very loud Anaheim Convention Center in a very loud Marshall booth.
It's very loud.
Isn't it?
We've had threats already. So.
Yeah, the NAMM police have been by, so we'll try to keep it quick, but we're going to run through a lot of product today, huh?
Yep.
All right, man, I'll let you go.
Okay, so first up, we've got this one here, which is the Studio 900. So for anybody that doesn't know, the Studio range from Marshall is kind of the more compact, lower wattage version of the classic Marshall amps. The 900 is UK made, like all the other Studio range. It's 2-channel, so you got your gain channel, you got your clean or kind of crunch channel.
Right.
Spring reverb, so all the good stuff. Pretty much the same spec as the original 4100 JCM 900.
Okay.
But the useful part is it's 20 watts, which is switchable down to 5 watts or 1 watt. So you can get the head. There's also a combo available.
Also 20 watts?
Same thing, exactly the same spec, apart from you got a 1x12 enclosure and speaker, and it's a Celestion G12T75.
Very fitting.
That's it, yeah. All part of the sound. And like I say, it's that classic JCM 900 sound. We've not missed anything out. All the same features as the big one, just more usable. So.
And I don't think people realize how loud 20 watts is, by the way.
It's still a giggable amp, man. Easy.
You're going to rattle some teeth with it.
Yeah, so when you get it home, you can switch it down to 1 watt.
And I think people are lost to the fact that how many recordings that they've heard that a 900 is on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a popular amp, and it still flew under the radar to some degree. You know,
I think so. I think a lot of people heard like the high gain channel, and they might have thought, well, I don't need that amount of gain, and then kind of ignored it. But actually, channel 1 is kind of the secret weapon on this amp, because you turn the gain up, and it gets you into vintage Marshall territory quite well.
Could you get like into plexi territory or even hotter?
Similar-ish, yeah. Kind of a hot plexi, yeah.
Got it.
Get there with that.
Beautiful. And this is coming out when?
This is out now.
It is out now.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now, given the fact that the Marshall in a box is practically a cottage industry, it kind of makes sense that you guys are going to go, look, we're the ones to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we took our time a little bit, but you know,
for sure.
But we made sure they were good.
Yeah, they look great.
So yeah, the idea is obviously if you haven't got a Marshall and you're using like a kind of a clean platform, like a lot of people are nowadays,
right?
We wanted to give people some of their favorite Marshall amps in a pedal format. There's 5 in the range in total. They're all analog. They're all true bypass. They all run on a regular 9-volt.
Great.
So there's nothing kind of crazy going on in them. But yeah, they give you that signature tone regardless of the amp you're plugging into.
Right.
And even if, let's say, you've got a 2-channel Marshall already, it's kind of useful to have another flavor on your clean channel.
Almost gives you a third stage.
Yeah, that's it, multi-use. So there's a 1959 pedal, which is probably the lowest gain of the bunch. Kind of more classic, kind of vintage break up to crunch tones.
Right.
Volume and a tone control, and you've got the high treble and the normal controls, which is basically your gain on those old amps because they had non-master volumes, the original 1959 plexis. You can get the JCM 800, which is kind of more aggressive as you'd expect, more gain on tap.
Your early 80s metal sound.
There you go.
It's been on millions of recordings.
Yeah, probably the most iconic guitar sound ever, I think.
Really is.
Then you've got a JCM 900 as well, which was kind of more the 90s Marshall sound. A little bit more gain, but, you know, more saturation, but kind of a more tighter kind of tone, which the 900s are famous for.
A lot of sizzle,
Yeah. A lot of that tighter bass response as well. Then I'm trying to think what we've done. The JVM. There's a JVM pedal. That's kind of the highest gain of the bunch.
Okay.
But it's got a real smoother kind of compressed overdrive, that one.
Okay.
But because of the amount of gain on that pedal, there's a noise gate.
That makes sense.
Yeah, which is totally useful, obviously, to get rid of that noise floor, which is associated with high gain sounds. And then there's a DSL, which is based on our dual super lead amplifier to get the gain channel on that.
Right.
Which is kind of a little bit more of an open kind of drive sound compared to like the JVMs and things like that.
That's a really versatile amp, though. I remember having one and loving the fact that you could go from clean to plexi to a little hairier, and it still sounded like a Marshall.
And there's actually a deep control like on the original amps on that pedal, which allows you to really sort of dial in some real low end if that kind of floats your boat. So yeah.
Got it. So as much as I'd love to demo them here amongst the noise, the good news is we have some videos coming out for American Musical Supply on these pedals because they're hotly anticipated and they are awesome. So be on the lookout for that. All right, so thankfully we're off the floor in the bunker here with Steve, and we're going to look at the Marshall Modified.
We are. In a nutshell, we've took 2 of the most kind of classic iconic Marshalls.
Okay.
The most recorded amps ever in rock music, I think. We've done some of the modifications that a lot of people were kind of getting done to them, particularly like the 80s, kind of early 90s.
Okay.
People were modifying the amps for more gain and master volumes and all that kind of thing, just to make them a little more usable.
Okay.
And weirdly enough, Marshall have actually been modifying our amps for decades, but it was only ever for the artists, and we never really made it available for the public. So now it is. That's the idea.
It's about time.
Yeah, I know. So this is the 1959 Handwired, obviously built in the UK, 100 watts. But these old plexis, because they're non-master volume, are known for being, crazy loud. And the only way to get the gain out of these was to crank the hell out of them. Yeah. So the first mod is the master volume, which is pre-tone stack.
Okay.
Which kind of, I really like that placement of that volume control, because it allows you to turn the amp right down, but it still sounds fat.
Okay.
You don't lose all the low end and things like that.
Yeah, sometimes it can sound anemic when you do that. Yeah. That's great.
And then we've put the bright cap on a switch. So sometimes when you're playing with cleaner sounds on the old plexis, especially in the high treble channel, people would complain they're a bit sharp and spiky.
A little spiky, yeah.
Until you get them past that point where the bright cap starts to blend out. But we've put that on a switch, because some people used to get them removed, basically.
Oh, just clip it out of the circuit altogether. Got it.
So that's now on a switch, which is useful. And then the next two switches along, you've got one which turns the additional overdrive on or off.
Okay.
And then once that's on, you can select between two modes of overdrive.
Nice.
Number one gives you kind of a tighter bass, and a little bit of a rolled off high end, kind of using similar characteristics of some of the overdrive pedals, the way they tighten an amp.
Right, but it kind of reducing a little ear fatigue too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And kind of gives you a little bit more of a kind of woody mid-range tone. But then the second option, Overdrive 2, it's transistor based, so it reacts a lot differently. It actually crushes the signal a lot more, so it's more saturated, more sustained.
Interesting.
But you still retain the lows and the highs, so it kind of sounds still more like the amp, if that makes sense, naturally. Right. So yeah, like I say, you can get the higher gain kind of tones at lower volumes. That was really the idea with these amps.
And are they foot switchable at all, or?
No, it's kind of a set and forget kind of situation, just like the old ones. I mean, we even made the choice of putting the volume right in where one of the inputs used to be. We were going to go kind of slick and make it look like a production run, but we thought, let's make it look modded.
No, it does. I mean, and that's kind of the charm.
Yeah, and actually it is, because actually we build a 59 and then modify it.
Right, so, and if you're not jumping the channels, I mean, that's the perfect place to put that up. It makes perfect sense.
You can still jump, you can still do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But we even experimented with having the Dymo sticker labels with but we thought that might be a risk with them peeling off. So
yeah, well, maybe next year.
Yeah, yeah.
This thing is just, aside from all the versatility and everything, it's just beautiful. It looks so great. Yeah,
and I think obviously there's lots of amps out there that already do the modded Marshall thing, but a lot of players kind of want it to be a Marshall. So.
It makes you feel good when you see that. It just does.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And this is just a great looking at, and it's still nice and warm.
Yeah.
It feels good.
That's it. And the other one is the 2203 JCM 800.
Sure. Let's take a look at that.
So similar idea. We've kind of gone for the most obvious mods that people were getting done.
Okay.
But again, it's still a standard JCM 800, so it's still 100 watts, EL34s, made in the UK, all that kind of stuff. But the additional switches, the middle one is a 3-way switch, which allows you to go from a stock 800 or choose Overdrive 1 or Overdrive 2.
Okay.
Overdrive 1 just gives you additional gain, a little bit more of a bump.
A little hairier. Yeah. Okay.
And Overdrive 2 is even more hairy.
Oh, good.
So it's additional gain and clipping. So if you
extra
want that,
hair.
That's it, yeah. So
full beard mode.
That's it. So you can choose one of those. And then you've got a tight switch, which allows you to tighten the bass.
Okay.
That's kind of useful, especially if you're adding the extra gain, because sometimes it can get a little bit flubby. And
would it be similar to like putting a treble booster in the circuit at all, or is it more?
Yeah, okay. It does give you that kind of characteristic.
Got it.
Tightens up the low end, and then you got another switch, which is a mid shift.
Okay.
And what that's actually doing, it's kind of really boosting the mids and kind of widening ever so slightly, so it just makes you really cut.
And that's really when the heart and soul of any good Marshall is how it handles the mids, and to have that versatility on an 800 is that's really great.
And the key thing to remember is we didn't want to remove them too far away from what they actually are. Like, you didn't want to lose the characteristic of what the amp is For example, we didn't want to add too much gain, so it just became something else, for example.
Right.
So it's still got all the organics and the openness of an 800 or a 59, but it's just got that little bit extra, which people like.
And it seems to me, I mean, as much as we all love pedals, this is the kind of amp now where it's like you're eliminating the need for that extra overdrive or that extra boost because it's all in the circuits of the amp.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's a
But
beautiful thing.
it still cleans up really well, which was what I really enjoy with these. So.
And that's the beautiful of a good Marshall. I think people forget that before channel switching, that's what you did. You crank the amp, got it nice and hairy, then you back it off, you clean it up, and then you just lean into it all from the guitar.
Yeah, that's it.
There's an art to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the two modified, and you know, I think they've been well received, and people are excited about these.
Yeah, man, we can't wait to get them in. I know they'll be available later this year.
Yeah.
Got it.
Cool.
So be sure to check them out at AmericanMusical.com.